Star Wars Skeleton Crew gets annihilated in latest heated Disney ratings disaster. Yes, this is shocking but not surprising to me. So welcome back to Views with Hughes, Culture and News. This is Jerome Hughes. Now, let's go ahead and get right into it. So, this time we're diving into Disney's latest attempt to revitalize Star Wars Skeleton Crew. And let's just say Star Wars Skeleton Crew is not looking good at all, people. Now, here's a quick question that I have. When was the last time you were truly excited about a new Star Wars release? Now, for me, it's been a minute, and judging by, the numbers coming out about Star Wars Skeleton Crew, I mean, I'm not alone. This show, with its big budget production and supposed holiday season hype, was expected to be a crown jewel for Disney Plus. But instead, Star Wars Skeleton Crew is shaping up to be yet another flop in a series of flops under Kathleen Kennedy's reign at Lucasfilm. But don't just take my word for it. Going to go ahead and break it down here further. Now, if you think about it, the viewership numbers are in, and they're not just bad, they're catastrophic. According to different reports, Star Wars Skeleton Crew failed to crack the top 10 streaming originals for the week of November 29th through December 5th. That's right, not even the originals subcategory, let alone the overall streaming charts. And folks, we're talking about a Star Wars property here. And the fact that Star Wars Skeleton Crew couldn't beat out titles like Day of the Jackal on Peacock is actually a pretty sad picture. Remember Day of the Jackal? Well, me neither, because I'm not really interested in that. Now, you might be wondering, how did we get here? How did Star Wars go from a cultural juggernaut to, basically a streaming afterthought? Now, the answer lies in a decade of mismanagement under Kathleen Kennedy and her tenure at Lucasfilm that's been marked by divisive decisions, underwhelming storytelling, as well as a complete lack of vision. And Star Wars Skeleton Crew is the latest victim of this legacy. And now it's sad to say, but even the effort poured into the Star Wars Skeleton Crew can't seem to salvage what's left of the franchise's reputation. And unfortunately, this is, supposed to be another masterpiece by Jon Favreau, but it's failing. But let's be fair for a moment. Is the show itself bad? By many accounts, no, but in fact, I've heard some of you out there that the first 2 episodes of Star Wars Skeleton Crew was pretty good. I watched them. I was conflicted personally, but some people even gave them an 8 out of 10 and when they reviewed it last week. But the problem isn't necessarily the quality of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, it's the baggage that comes with it. And Star Wars has been a brand that's been tarnished over the past decade. That's even a decent effort like Star Wars Skeleton Crew struggles to find an audience. It's like trying to sell a gourmet meal out of a food truck that's been serving up reheated leftovers for years. People just aren't buying it. And that's no surprise because Kathleen Kennedy ruined the brand. And speaking of not buying it, there's also the Disney Plus advertisers. According to an exclusive report from Valiant Renegade on his YouTube channels, advertisers are abandoning Disney Plus in droves. Why? Well, because the platform is just simply not delivering the viewership numbers that's needed to go ahead and justify their investment. And when shows like Star Wars Skeleton Crew fail to perform, advertisers either pull their funding or demand compensation in the form of ad placements on more reliable platforms like Hulu or ESPN Plus. And that's definitely bad news for Disney, which has been leaning heavily on streaming to offset its box office problems. And basically, it's a cycle that's beginning to affect every Star Wars related property, and Star Wars Skeleton Crew has become the poster child for these particular struggles. I was having high hopes for this show, but I'm disappointed. The streaming originals category is already a niche market. It's not overall top 10, it's a subcategory. Yet even within this limited field, Star Wars Skeleton Crew couldn't even make a dent. Meanwhile, competitors like Paramount Plus and Netflix are dominating the space. You see, Paramount Plus in particular has been on a roll thanks to the efforts of Taylor Sheridan, the mastermind behind hits like Yellowstone. Contrast that with Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy, where the Star Wars brand has been run into the ground. Even with the hype, Star Wars skeleton crew has been unable to gain any traction, and that's just not disappointing. It should be a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for the fans, but apparently it's not a wake-up call to Disney and Lucasfilm. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait a minute. There's still some hope for Star Wars. Isn't there still some hope for Star Wars skeleton crew? Maybe the finale will turn things around. Well, I'm sorry to burst the bubble, but if the first 2 episodes of Star Wars Skeleton Crew couldn't generate buzz, it's unlikely the finale will either. Now, it isn't just a failure of marketing or timing, it's a systemic issue. Audiences have been burned too many times before, and they're not willing to give Star Wars the benefit of the doubt anymore. And unfortunately, for Star Wars Skeleton Crew, that means it's facing an uphill battle that even great storytelling might not overcome. Okay? Y'all remember The Mandalorian? First 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, at least. That was the last time Star Wars truly captured the public's imagination. Since then, we've had a string of misfires, from the Book of Boba Fett to The Acolyte. Each new release chips away what little goodwill remains. And now, Star Wars Skeleton Crew is paying the price for a decade of poor decisions from Kathleen Kennedy. And it's hard to believe, but even the Star Wars name can no longer guarantee an audience. Now, if Star Wars Skeleton Crew doesn't survive, well, it will just be another nail in the coffin for this, once again, struggling franchise. But it's not only the fault of Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm. There's a larger issue at play here. The entertainment industry's obsession with quantity over quality. Now, streaming platforms are churning out, content at an unprecedented rate, but how much of it is truly memorable? How much of it is rewatchable? When was the last time you watched something on Netflix or Disney Plus and thought, this is a classic? Now, the constant push for new content as well as political bias has led to a saturation of mediocrity, and audiences are starting to tune out. Even something with the potential of Star Wars Skeleton Crew struggles to stand out in such an environment, okay? And that should be something that's shocking to all of us. So basically, what's the solution? How can Disney and Lucasfilm turn things around? Well, for starters, they need to just rebuild trust with their audience. That means focusing on quality storytelling and respecting the legacy of the Star Wars franchise and fans. It also means making some tough decisions about leadership. Kathleen Kennedy's tenure has been a disaster, and it's time for fresh blood at the helm of Lucasfilm. Now, if Star Wars Skeleton Crew is a wake-up call, then it's a chance for the franchise to basically go ahead and start anew. Secondly, Disney needs to rethink its approach to streaming, especially with Star Wars Skeleton Crew. The one-size-fits-all strategy is not working. Not every Star Wars project needs to be a high-budget spectacle. Sometimes less is more. Give creators the freedom to tell compelling stories without the pressure of carrying an entire franchise on their shoulders. And let Star Wars Skeleton Crew serve as an example of what happens when expectations are mismatched with execution. Finally, and perhaps the most importantly, Disney needs to just listen to his fans. The backlash against projects like The Last Jedi wasn't just about creative differences. It was a cry for respect. Fans want to feel like their voices matter, and basically just ignoring them only leads to further alienation. Now, the failure of Star Wars Skeleton Crew is emblematic of its disconnect, and it's just a reminder that fan loyalty should never be taken for granted. Okay. So, what exactly does the failure of Star Wars Skeleton Crew mean for the future of Star Wars? In many ways, it's a wake-up call. The days of relying on brand recognition alone are over. If Disney wants to keep Star Wars relevant, it needs to earn back the trust of its audience. And that's going to take just more than just flashy trailers and big-name directors. It's also going to take heart, vision, and commitment to excellence. Now, the journey of Star Wars Skeleton Crew is just a stark reminder of this particular reality. So, what do you think? Is Star Wars Skeleton Crew a victim of bad timing, bad management, or something else entirely? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you might have on this particular topic. If you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button and share the video far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications so that way you're notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.